Sear, our non-stimulant, thermogenic, and recomposition agent. Sear is a super cool product because it's going to help you utilize turning your white adipose tissue, which is for storage of fat, into brown adipose tissue, which is going to help with energy production. So this is great to use for a competition prep or in your weight loss phase. So you can stack it with a stimulant-based thermogenic, or you could also use it in your off-season or muscle building phase to help keep you lean and mean. Sear.
He tricked us, Jess. We got nothing. I was nice and quiet waiting for Steven to come in with something awkward, and he's all distracted.
I was going to say, we actually have a normal podcast for once. That's awesome.
Awkward pause.
It ain't gonna be normal.
No, I think he's feeling spicy today.
Yo, I'm in such a good mood today.
Yay. I like that.
I met with the surgeon this morning, so they're going to tie my stomach in a knot, so I feel better.
Yeah? Is that with the bird?
Yeah.
To get it to stop it and keep your esophagus closed?
Yeah, so it's called a fundoplication. It's weird because it doesn't sound that fun. So it's
or like Fun Dip. Do they give you that when you're done?
I loved Fun Dip. No, I don't think they do. I have to be on like a liquid only diet for like 2 weeks.
Ooh.
And then like a mush diet for like the next, I think 4 or 6 weeks after that. And then I can like start eating normal food at like 7 or 8 weeks. But they take the top of your stomach and they essentially pull it around your esophagus to like reinforce the esophagus. So you stop having like the acid reflux, like backflow stuff from the GERD. And then you just kind of like tie it to itself.
Very interesting. I feel like, are they going to do like crazy scope pictures? Because I feel like you probably would dig that if they have like pictures of your esophagus for you.
So I had scope pictures from my last one. Ooh, other fun fact. So I used to work in, when I first started like college, I used to work in confidential record storage. And then so we would go back in and we'd have to pull people's medical records back when they had all paper record stuff. And you see some weird stuff like somebody had changed their name legally to Batman or some other weird stuff. But one day I see a record pull from my mom. I was like, oh God. And I had to go pull her colonoscopy pictures and records.
Oh no.
So like as an adult, I've seen inside my own mother.
I mean,
inside her butt.
Yeah. And on that note, we're going to.
It looks very clean, at least.
I mean, it looks like what?
I said it looks clean, at least.
You're like, good job, Mom. Well, maybe she gave you a literal inside look into what you could expect for your colonoscopy in the future.
No, I think the only pictures I saw of the inside of my body were the ACL ones when they did that. Yeah.
I could not be a doctor. There's nothing about like that kind of stuff where I'm like, yeah, I want to look at that more. It's just, I can't even eat like chicken wings if I look at it too long. And then I'm like, nope, I'm done for today. So yeah, here we go. Podcast time. We are going to talk about, or it's going to answer questions. So it's going to continue probably being this level of random, for the next 45 minutes so that we can hit some of these. We were chatting before we started recording and I got an interesting question. And so we liked the question, but it turns out, I think just because I put mine up weird, I had said, we're going to record a lifestyle focused podcast. And because, you know, like the one kind of focuses on prep and then we focus more on lifestyle. So then everybody who put questions up for this one mentioned the word lifestyle in there. And I didn't mean to do that. But the first question, he asked like, what is lifestyle? I've heard that term mentioned a lot, but I don't even know the meaning. And this is somebody in like our transformation challenge group. And so I think it probably is one of those things where we get really like, we just throw stuff around or like the lifestyle or whatever. And there's people that don't know what we're talking about. So how would you describe that, Stephen?
Screw us. Like, thank you. Thank you, random person, because that's an us problem. Right?
Yeah.
We're like elitist jerks that we are.
Shorthand.
Right? Jess is just laughing at me.
Like, what? Please
No, because it's like, I think the difference is when we talk about lifestyle, typically the connotation is like, we're not necessarily trying to compete. Like we want to be healthy. We want to feel good. we want to perform well, and we don't necessarily want to have to give up all the things. Because I think that's a typical, like, and maybe even a misconception, but it's one of the ideas of like the contest prep or the competitive bodybuilding thing, where like everybody wants to just put on every single ounce of muscle that they can and then try and get as absolutely shredded as they can. And I think lifestyle is where we try and talk about, like, whether you're a beginner and just learning how to like read a nutrition label, or whether you've been doing this for a few years and you're just trying to figure out how to maybe get a little bit more performance, or even just how to maybe like balance what you do in your day to day to make it fit better so that it's supportive of the life you want, but also supportive of like your health and fitness goals.
Yeah, I think one of the like misconceptions is like lifestyle is just, oh, it's like whatever. And then if you're a competitor, it's like, oh no, it's serious shit. And I've had to have a few like consult calls, like discussions with people about what that means. Cause I'll talk about, our prices or whatever. And I've had the question be asked like, so how is that different if I'm a lifestyle client versus a competitor? I said, well, a competitor, we're training, with a goal of fitting a division. We're not training to build our body in whatever way we want to build it. It's like, if you're in bikini, okay, there's certain criteria. And if you're in wellness, well, there's certain criteria. And then you also go into that kind of space with that understanding, and also understanding that competing, like getting to stage, we can do it in healthier ways, but it's not always like the healthiest in terms of physicality or like mental state, and there's just like implications that come along with that. And when we're talking about lifestyle, that doesn't mean that you don't take your goals seriously, or like you don't want to work hard and you don't want to get lean, or you don't want to perform really well. Like, I have a lot of my like lifestyle clients take their goals pretty damn seriously, and like will go on vacation but hit their macros, or make sure that they don't miss a training session and that type of stuff. But it's more along the lines of, okay, we're not training to fit a division or get judged on our physique and like be on stage in very small amount of clothing. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to still push you pretty hard and have like, conversations about upping your performance or leveling up in some way. But there is like a broader spectrum where some people are just beginning, or like, I actually just want to improve how I feel and sleep and my digestion and blah, 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 and just like wake up and not have pain, all the way to, I don't know, you want to like do a big photo shoot or something like that, or just, train really hard just in everyday life. And that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like a big misconception with it. Like that lifestyle is kind of more like dilly-dallying, like and stuff. And I'd say that like it's the exact opposite with it, where if you think about like other lifestyles, okay, like being vegan, you don't dabble in being vegan and then refer to it as your lifestyle, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm vegan, like 3 days a week. And then the other days I really like to have pepperoni pizza, some turkey sandwiches, every now and then I have steak. And like, that's not your lifestyle then. Then it's just something you enjoy every now and then. And exercise, tracking macros and like that kind of stuff, that can be something where maybe if we're like easing into it, or we don't enjoy it and we do it because we want the benefits, but we're like just doing what we got stuff and it's not something we love, then we can kind of be in that place. But like if somebody is saying like fitness is my lifestyle, or like I use this as a lifestyle and stuff, I would assume they're paying more attention. Like, I mean, I'm a lifestyle person, like in this stuff. I'm not going to, like, I like to sign up for races, but I'm not gonna win. And like, I don't have any interest in.
Not with that attitude,
Right.
Christina.
I mean, right. I only had to catch, like 1,400 more people in my age division and I would have been good to go. Although I'll tell you that last mile, I will kill myself to collect every woman that looks like she might be my age as I get towards the end. Cause I'm like, collect every soul I can.
That's why you're not winning. You can't collect them and carry them with you. You need to just pass them. That's a
No,
lot
I
of extra
collect their
weight.
souls. Like
Ugh.
that's the thing. It's mine once I've passed them, and then I can't let them have it back, and I have to keep going to the very end. So now I've completely squirreled myself and forgot what I was talking about. Oh, but like we're still putting the same respect and intention into what we're doing. And that's where with like my clients, if they kind of get into that place where they're like, they're not tracking their workouts because they're not concerned with bodybuilding or something. And I'll be like, yeah, but we don't want to just like curl 20s for the next 3 years.
You don't
Like,
just fuck around.
and let's have a purpose. If we're going to run, you're going to track it for me. And then I'm going to compare it to like next week. And we're going to figure out what we need to do to be better. Because if we're going to work together, we're going to improve somewhere. And so like, I still hold them to that same standard.
I think, like, honestly, though, you can. Like, you could be working out of tracking as much, right?
Yep.
It's like when you talk about lifestyle stuff, you could be talking about, okay, well, let's work on how do we not have to hard track every meal, or how do I allow myself to have more flexibility with my food sources so that I can like deal with or be okay with a meal out with the family. Maybe it is all right, and I've seen this one a lot. How do I take a rest day? How do I take a day off from the gym? Right? Because at some point, it probably isn't going to matter whether you deadlift 500 pounds or, 100, right? It's not going to matter as much. And I think that's why like lifestyle has this beautiful ability. It's like water, where there's sometimes where the waves are going to be very strong, and there's sometimes where it's going to be very still. And like that's kind of the beauty about what we call the quote unquote lifestyle, is that it allows for this kind of very tender, gentle, whatever thing of balance is going to be for you at that time. Do you want to work out 5 days a week and get strong AF? Cool. You want to put on all the muscle? Cool. Do you just want to be able to pick up your grandkids and go out to eat with your family once in a while without having to worry about gaining 20 pounds throughout the remainder of the year? Hell yeah, that's friggin' cool too. Um, I think the hard part is like that part of working out of it requires some semblance of education experience. And like, that's where the idea of lifestyle comes in, because we've done it as a part of our day to day. So we have that experience and control, and we're building that up to whatever degree your goals require or demand.
I thought that
Or
was super
sometimes,
well said. I like the water like reference. That was
Yeah.
like
And it's
money.
like having those basics that you stand on. And that's, I think, what makes it like, okay, you're living that lifestyle. And like this time of year, I think is always this time of year, and then like the holidays, right? Or where you see who's really kind of like nailed the basics down, and then your body doesn't have to like freak out and stuff like in those periods if maybe we're pulling back from some stuff and getting better at it. And lately I've been using more things like, let's not like, we're gonna like just doing like the protein and calorie tracking, or even getting some people to not weigh in every day. And like I have my weight for like every day going back like an obscene amount of time in some way stored on my phone. And I've started like doing the same thing. And there's part of me where I'll be like, but what if next year I want to look back and see what I weighed on June 12th? And then I'm like, Christina, that's so stupid. Like, why do I need all of these? And so there's a time and a place for all of it. And like, meeting you where you're at. Like, I love that. And the ebbing and flowing. Okay. Another question. Oh, I'm curious about your guys with this, because I complain about this all the time, but protein hacks. Do you have any where like they were saying that like this time of year, that with it just being like hot and some stuff, that sometimes it's easier to get protein in and focus on that. And so they were looking for ideas that anybody had for protein, and then also fiber to try and get that in during the summer months. So do you guys have any favorite tricks for those two?
Jessica, go.
Okay. I'm just gonna sideline the fact that I hate the word hack. It's just like a pet peeve of mine. But anyways, tips to getting protein in. What do you like to eat in terms of protein? Maybe eat more of what you like. You don't like that idea?
Some people just don't like eating protein. Like
Fair.
legit, it's just not their thing.
Oh, let me elaborate.
Yeah.
Um, so
Fine.
first of all, start there, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, what do you actually enjoy? Maybe you, if it's the summer months, could eat more like smoothies, like protein smoothies, protein creamies, Greek yogurt. Fuck yeah, go for that. Okay. Get a lot of your protein in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like have your breakfast just heavily situated in protein. You can also try to get your protein from like various sources. So like mixing and matching. And like just throw a protein shake or two in a day. Like it's not a bad thing. I think sometimes people have weird feelings about protein shakes, like, oh, you should only have them if you're about a bodybuilder, or you should only have like one a day. It's like, okay, well, if you're really struggling, that's what it's kind of there for. And then you can be creative with it. Like I said, like smoothies, shakes, um, ice cream, like throw protein in your Greek yogurt, throw protein in your pancakes, throw like it's just kind of a very versatile ingredient that you can like sneak things in.
Yeah. I love the idea of the like getting it in from things that maybe provide like smaller amounts, where if we had just that, it wouldn't, get us to where we need to be. But then if you have 4 of those, and that's kind of what I've been doing lately, where like having a little collection of like 3 or 4 things that each provide like 15 grams. And then like that makes a whole meal. And then for some, like I don't like eating meat. I'm not a big protein fan. And so that helps me because I don't have to sit there and chew through like 6 ounces of chicken or something when it's the last thing. And so if it's broken up, that helps a lot. And then you get that variety. But your first tip, like that's what I tell people. I'm like, well, whatever you're currently eating, eat twice as much. Like start there and then let's see what it gets to, because that's going to be the easiest on your digestion. And I think I talked about this in the Facebook Live and it wasn't on the podcast, but somebody had posted in there. They were like, I did the thing where I track to find out where I'm starting from. And then I saw what the calculator said I was supposed to be at. And they're like, I was only at 10 grams of fiber, but it says I'm supposed to be at 30. So I started that 3 days ago. Like, when will my stomach stop hurting? And then also I was eating 25 grams of protein, but now I'm eating 130. And when does this get easier? And I was like, oh, stop. Like, come back, like ease your way there, because that could be rough on the gut a little bit.
So I go through it, I think probably a different way. So yes, to all of your things, but I also like to educate people as to why protein is important and why it matters for what we do and what the big concepts are. So the biggest concept that I would say for protein for me is that you are getting enough complete protein in a meal to trigger muscle growth. It is the only macronutrient or energy yielding nutrient that if we eat enough of it, our body does something. It says, okay, cool, we are going to grow more muscle. So I say that's important in terms of our muscularity, keeping muscle, performance, recovery, how we're going to feel, and some of those things for this one really big reason, first and foremost. So that's based on your lean body mass. So like if your lean body mass is 100 pounds because you're shorter and maybe a female, then the amount of protein that you're going to need in that sitting of complete protein that you need in that sitting is less than somebody who is going to be having a lean body mass of 190 or 200 pounds. They have to eat more per sitting. So if you can do that at least a few times a day to trigger that muscle growth through your nutrition, I think that's a big win. The other thing is that you probably want to have enough time in between those meals. I'd say 3 hours, right? You want to be able to digest, but you also need time to like reset, so to speak. So I like doing that. The other thing to kind of keep in mind is a lot of things that are marketed as high protein are not actually high protein. Nuts are not high protein.
Peanut butter?
No. It's not high protein. It has some protein, sure. But your best bets are typically going to be something that is animal protein if you eat it in your diet, and or like a supplementary protein. So even tofu can be hard because it can be high in fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the first thing. And so say you can do 2 meals where you get enough protein, and say you get 30 grams of complete protein at 2 meals a day, and maybe you get some less in the other meals, and that works for you to start off with. That would be a cool place for me, I think, to start. And then we work on, because here's the other cool thing. As you start exercising more, as you become more active, and as you start like figuring those things out, your hunger signaling is going to grow up, or is going to go up typically. You're going to become hungrier. So it's going to become easier to eat those things. And because Jessica got me on this, I pulled up a quote from our good friend Ryan Doris that I thought was just marvelous. Because when I hear hack, I think of like what we used to call people back in the day, like they're a friggin' hack. They're a
Yeah.
joke. You know what I mean? It's like the red flag that goes up every time you hear holistic medicine, right? You're
Mhm.
like, oh
Nut.
God, right? I literally think of the dude like just washing his hands and like not pulling the worm out of Jim Carrey and Man on the Moon. Like that's what I think of. So I'm gonna read it for y'all. As tempting as a shortcut may be, they are all sly lies. Do not believe them, for they only deceive that the process can be sped up. The process only moves in real time, here and now, with a patient and steady hand, as fast as any quality physique is able to be built. A shortcut, by its nature, sweeps details under the rug. If those details are imperative to the foundation of our work, sooner or later, we will find ourselves having to double back to do that part over again the right way, anyways. There are no such things as shortcuts. If you are ever lucky enough to find a reliable shortcut, consider it no longer a shortcut, but the better way to get it done.
That's what I feel like a hack is, like when people talk about like hunger hacks or protein hacks or weight loss hacks. I just hear shortcut. I hear easy way out. And like there's just unfortunately in health and fitness, it's you just need to do the work. And like we've talked about, there's various ways that you can do the work and to different degrees of like intensity, but like you have to still do it.
I mean, yeah, even going down to like the I can't talk, the tricks that you had with like adding protein powder and stuff like that, like you still have to do it. You still have to add that. Like you still just have to consume it. And then, people, "Oh, well, I don't like the way that it tastes, or I don't like this or that." And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, well then you don't like what you have to do to get to where you want to be, like with that. And a lot of these things, there was another person in the group who asked, a pretty detailed question where she had put up her macros and she wanted to see more progress and stuff. And then as I started answering part of it, she was actually there. So she started adding some like depth to it. And she was upset with the timeline. And then I found out that she had been lifting for 5 months. And so that was one of those things. And then I talked to a client that I just started working with. I think yesterday it was her 4th check-in. And we transitioned from more like video focused workouts into like I had written a plan for her, and like so we're working on all the stuff. And in her check-in she had said like, I think maybe I need to add like another like more Peloton weight workouts to what we're doing because I'm not seeing progress fast enough. And so I was like, okay, well wait, because this is week 4. And so I want to tell me exactly like what would you be looking for that would like be progress made within that amount of time. And the scale is down. Measurements are a hint tighter, but in 4 weeks, that makes sense to me, like our first 4 weeks together. And we're adding in the weights and stuff. And so then when I was talking to this person in the Q&A group, it was like, but she had basically asked like, but when does it happen then? Like, what is a long time? If 5 months is not a long time, what is a long time? And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I've been doing it for like 15 years. And I'm waiting for those giant shoulders that'll accidentally happen if I lift too heavy. Like it hasn't happened yet. And so like the timeline and the amount of time not spent on a shortcut is going to spend, like if you focus on just doing this as long as it's going to take, as opposed to trying to find the fastest way to get to the end goal, you're going to be much happier with how you look, as opposed to trying out like a protein hack or a fiber hack and like switching what it is you're focusing on and not being on like a definitive path forward.
And if like you're not happy with something, but you're hyper fixated on the thing that you're not happy about, and you just think that when you get that one thing, you're going to be happy, I hate to break it to you, you're not going to be, because you will want either more or something different, or, well, I want it like this now. And so instead of cultivating like what's next, or this needs to be this certain way, cultivate what you can do, cultivate what you're able to do, and how things that you are currently doing is benefiting you, and coming at it from like an abundance standpoint, instead of chasing and hyper fixating on something that maybe you can't fix because of genetics, or maybe you can fix, but it's just going to take a little longer. And I mean, the time is going to pass.
Yeah.
So I think, coming at things from like more of an abundance point of view, instead of, well, I have to lose the 5 pounds, or I have to have these shoulders, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, what happens then?
Right. I
It's
love,
it's like such a weird question because like even like we can tell that like when you try to estimate in the research how much weight people are going to lose, they don't lose the amount of weight that you think they're going to lose. Some people might lose more, some people might lose less. Sometimes maybe it'll happen. It's just like, and it goes back to the lifestyle thing, right? If you're doing the lifestyle, you're going to be making the progress over time that you want. You're going to be doing the right things to do it. You get caught up with the end goal, and I get it. Like, we're a very external society right now, where social media is huge. It's pretty much what everybody relates to real life, which is incorrect, right? Um, and so like you look at all these external validators and these external things that are being told to you, but even if like we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, even if that is that person's real life, you're not them, you're not in their shoes, you're not in their life. So like this idea is like we all have our own genetics, we all have our own diet history, we all have our own things that we're good at and we're not good at. Like especially as a coach, 4 weeks in, I'm still kind of just getting to know you. I'm still
right.
kind of just getting to know how your body responds. So like if things are going well, awesome. I'm glad that I could use an approach that's working for you, that's for the most part proven and scientifically backed and best practice. But even if all those boxes are checked, that is no guarantee that you as an individual are going to get the expected result.
Right.
And like that, I think that's a hard thing, right? That's a hard truth.
Oh,
Yeah.
listen, I like having it happen as a client is the worst, but like getting to that place too as a coach is like, I mean, I'll just sit there and like, I'll start a video and then have to stop it and then start it, where you just want to be like, shit, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know. We're doing it and it should be working and it's not working. And so, then you gotta, the nice thing is you like go back to like, okay, well, let's just eat more food and get stronger and we'll figure it out later. Like back to the drawing board, but we get to add like that good stuff. But the abundance mindset, that's the big thing that, especially with like our challenges and just working with a lot of lifestyle focused clients, that keeping the more positive mindset about what you're doing, and seeking out wins. And so that's been something that right now, and I'll start doing this in kind of waves, where I start assigning like PR homework in check-ins, or like, I want a video next week where you show me that you did something cool and athletic you haven't done before, or tell me this like great thing that happened, or whatever, where we need to start having, check-ins start to be the like, well, this week wasn't great. Kind of fucked it up because everything's crazy and my schedule doesn't make sense, and like stuff like that. And so it's like, wait, if you still checked in with me on your normal day, we've got pictures, your macros aren't off by that much. And sometimes we're just cruising. And I mean, like, you could cruise for years and then all of a sudden look up and be like, oh shit. Like, and I mean, that's why now I'm trying things like weighing in less. I've been incorporating days where like my 1,000 of days streak on my Fitness Pal was busted. I ruined it.
Oh
And
man.
It's right. Because life is like lately, I've been like, I jumped into the challenge a little bit. So I've been more dialed in like since the race because I was like, maybe I could tighten up. But then even then, I'm like, yeah, but I love summer and beers. And so I'm not going to be too crazy about it. And it's nice to get to that place where you can just chill and focus on other things in life. But like, I also made sure my breakfast had 45 grams of protein in it so that I could stop thinking about that for the rest of the day.
Right.
Well, not for the rest of the day, but at least I know I made like a dent in what I need to accomplish. Let's see, we've got what, another 15 minutes that we can knock out a little bit more. Let's see.
Yeah, because we started late because of Steven.
Stephen was being a good coach and all, giving people
Blech.
attention on the phone. Okay. Is it okay to do my steps every day, or do I need a complete rest day from those as well?
Wait, what? You cut out. I didn't catch part of that.
Yes, me as well.
They want to know if they should go for their steps every day or if they should take a rest day from their steps too. Are you guys there? Podcast
The question
people.
was,
Oh, there you are. You came back. Everybody froze on my end. And
you're the problem.
Yeah,
We didn't
you
hear the
are the
question.
problem.
I believe you. Zoom just told me I'm unstable. And I'm like, thank you. I know.
Nice.
The question was about steps. Do they need to try and do them every day, or should they take a complete rest day from pursuing a step goal as well?
Your steps shouldn't be something that's stressing you out like that. Like the entire point of a strep goal, you don't want strep.
Don't get it.
That's not good.
Don't do that.
The entire point of a step goal, at least for me, is that it's your normal day-to-day activity.
Mhm.
I know some people and some coaches will use that for cardio, and shoot, for sometimes for some people I will. But like at base and at its home base, that is saying, okay, this is what our normal day-to-day activity level is. And it's kind of accounting for the energy we expend. So if you're wanting to continue seeing your weight loss when making changes, if that goes down, you're not going to see the same, or you would expect that it would be different. So it's really just there to keep that baseline to where, like, okay, maybe we are dieting hard, or maybe something's going on and you're not feeling the greatest. We're not going to just sit on the sofa and not do anything when we tend to be very active, and then expect or still possibly be upset that we didn't see the scale move the way we wanted to. And it should be something that doesn't demand recovery.
Right.
Like your step count shouldn't be on the Stairmaster, dog.
Yeah.
Like
No shit.
that's not the drill. That
so
should...
question on that though. Do you have people take off? I've had clients ask me if they should remove their watch during dedicated cardio time to not have the steps add.
I do. Because again, I'm trying to keep them separate. So like if I have someone that's just doing steps for cardio, then we're going to increase their steps, but that can sometimes get really high. And there's a huge variance here. Like I might have some people that are crazy active and their normal step count's 17,000 because they're waiting tables and doing whatever. And I have others where their normal step count's like 6,000 or 7,000. So for that 17,000 person, I'm not adding more steps for them. But if I really have to and they have time, I might add structured cardio sessions. And so I like to keep my thought process as much as possible towards this idea that steps are there not for weight loss. Steps are there just to be an indicator of what you do throughout the day so that we can keep that stable.
Yeah.
And then I like to use the cardio sessions as something separate that we're specifically using for, sure, maybe some of it's cardiovascular conditioning if you're in sport or have some other stuff to do. But really, I try to keep that for weight loss specific. So say like if I was working with somebody like you, Christina, where you're doing a lot more runs, if I'm doing your run training, it's different. I don't do that for anybody. I'll be honest, right? But so for me, I would say do your run training and let's just be aware of what your step count average is for the week.
Right.
That
So that's
way
how I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have people take them off. And so if you're my client and you listen to this, keep your watch on. So I just watch like the trends. And if they have, I'll have them track it separately. So I know if a day had like a 30-minute cardio session, that's why their steps are all of a sudden higher that day or whatever. But I can see why that makes sense to like shift them.
But I would not include that as a cardio session. Yes, you're doing cardio. Yes,
Right.
it is cardio. Yes, it is a cardio session. But for our purposes of body composition, it wouldn't be like, it would be like me going to do jujitsu. I'm not counting me going out and doing jujitsu as a cardio session if I'm dieting. I'm still going to go get on the piece of equipment. I'm still going to go bike or treadmill walk or do whatever. The jujitsu is just, sure, maybe I get a little bit extra calorie expenditure from it, but I'm not controlling it in that same way that I would for like that specific cardio that I'm wanting.
Like your jujitsu is going to be consistent regardless.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I agree. I do it separate for most clients.
And this is where I think we're kind of getting in the weeds too, of where there's like fluctuations depending on what kind of client we're working with, what their goal, like, I mean, across the board with the three of us, we could find so many different ways that we all get cardio in, because like there are days where I'll just try to get my step, like I'll watch just my steps and like put laundry away, but like all of it throughout the house and get the whole house clean and like just see how much I can do. And then there's like running days, or I have clients who do like OTF, or they do go to like, we added in more jujitsu as cardio. So I think if you're more movement, like trying to add that in, as opposed to like we're in prep and I have a client who tracks like the calories, like that's how we're doing it right now and like things like that. So yeah, it just switches. So we have enough time for this one, where I was hoping, well, okay, I have two and I'm curious to see how you guys go with these.
Too ludicrous.
If carbs are considered unessential and protein and fats are essential, why should we eat carbs to build muscle? Also, why weigh protein cooked versus uncooked? Can you be overeating calories if you track it cooked? And so that last one, because I'm more interested in what you guys say about the other part. The last one I had explained was like, because if you're logging it raw, but you're weighing it cooked, you're technically getting more protein than you think you are, because the water has cooked off of it. And so it's denser. But if you've always done it that way, I told people not to stress about it. Just like, don't let your mind explode. Oh
Can
no.
we talk about the protein first then?
Go for it. Yeah.
I say whatever you're doing, do it consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Competitors, depending, I talk to you a little different, but we are not talking about competitors. Whatever you do it consistent. Don't stress about it. Move on.
I wouldn't even care about competitors with like,
Okay.
if you
Just do it
overeat on
consistent.
protein, it's going to be the least likely to get stored as body fat anyways.
Yeah.
And honestly, most competitors are probably going to get some benefit from having a little bit extra protein, because we give everybody enough protein, but it's less than probably like what the bro coaches do, where they'll have like a female competitor that's going to be 5'1"
180
on like 200 grams of protein or 180.
Dumb.
I mean, so a little bit extra ain't going to hurt you. It might help with muscle retention if you're in a dieting phase. And like I said, it's going to be hard for you to store extra body fat for that, unless you're eating really fatty protein cuts, and then maybe you have a different problem.
Right.
But now
I
I've
just wouldn't
literally
change
lost
it.
the other two parts of the questions.
Carbs.
Yeah, so stay consistent with whatever you're doing with your protein. Keep on keeping on it and you'll probably be fine. The other part was, if carbs are unessential and protein and fat are essential, why would we eat carbs to build muscle? Is it out there that carbs are unessential?
So carbs are unessential for
Carbs are
life.
unessential.
So they are not an essential thing. You can eat simply protein and fats
And
only, and be in a ketogenic diet, be healthy, right? It can be done. However, like, you're saying carbs are unessential, and then I want to build as much muscle as possible.
They're unessential for life, right? Like, but I feel like if we're adding much more in, like,
right, carbs are half of what we call net protein balance. So how much muscle you either make, keep, or lose is based on two things. One, how much muscle you build, so eating protein and your workouts, and two, how much you break down. So yes, your activity can impact that, but the only macronutrient that's really impacting how much muscle you break down is carbs. They prevent more muscle protein breakdown. So it's like this idea of, okay, I don't know, if TV is not essential for my entertainment, why should I watch TV if I want to be entertained? Sure.
right.
You know what I mean? There's other ways to do it, but that's probably a pretty easy, viable, reasonable way that's right there. Not to mention all of your fiber which can be great for cardiovascular health, can be great for digestional health, all of the micronutrient value that you get from fruits and vegetables that are going to be making sure that you have everything you need for the enzymes to do their work so you can actually make as much energy as possible, perform as well as possible, feel as well as possible. Like that if you're just doing maybe a ketogenic diet, like could you supplement with that stuff? Sure. Is absorption going to be as good? Probably not. Like it's just and don't take this as me saying keto's terrible. You can do keto. I 100% am not sold on the fact that keto is the best for building muscle
Right.
by any way, shape, or form. And like, if we're talking about, yeah, you will synthesize carbs, right? Your liver will make glycogen and carbohydrates. It will do it. It can do it from proteins. That's why if you're on keto, you have to be under a certain amount of protein to be a true keto. So you're still going to have carbs. No matter how much you want to try and say, I eat 0 carbs, your body's making carbs from what you're doing. You're going to have some carbs in there. Okay. So there's no true way around it. But the energy systems, the way that your body works, if you're doing things like lifting weights, that is going to have carbohydrate metabolism is going to fuel a very large portion of that. That's what that is. So it makes sense. If your goal has anything to do with muscle, have carbs.
Yeah.
This
I was going to
question-
mention the fiber and the like micronutrient thing as well. Cause like, okay, like, don't you like having nice hair, skin, and nails and feeling vitality? And like your brain literally runs on glucose. Well, not glucose, like carbs. And so like, don't you like, showing up to work and having good energy and having good performance in the gym and all that kind of stuff? I mean, yeah, okay, they're not essential for living. Great. But I also find a lot of times people who are kind of tied into this like demonizing carb mentality, they also have a lot of behaviors and maybe are like just language surrounding carbohydrates and how I wish that I could have that. Or, oh, I miss this. Or, like they're talking about carbohydrates like it's like something that they miss and they can't have. And then they binge and then they're like, oh, well, obviously my body didn't like that. Well, I can't have carbs. Well, no,
Yeah.
no
Their
shit.
stomach hurts and they get bloated or something. And then they're like, carbs bloat me.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to your hack thing, right? Like if somebody's saying, well, if I don't have to, what if I just went and did nothing? Wouldn't I still get what I wanted? And it's like, when I had responded to this one on there, I was like, but why? Like your brain really likes glycogen and like having things work, like it likes having energy stuff. And so why would you want to go to like carb land all the time? And so, yeah, I'm glad we covered that one. You want to do one more?
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I covered that one to death before you
I
guys
loved
got
it. I loved
love
it.
it. Oh gosh, I had another one that I was excited for. Let's see.
Me and my stupid
Okay,
science.
listen, this is one where I told them, I was like, I'm not a supplement person who knows a whole lot about them. And I was like, I can find you people if you want to ask these questions to people who will know more. You guys might be the people who know more. I have a question about beta alanine.
Maybe
Does
not.
timing of it matter? I know it is often included in pre-workout or pump products. Also, I read that the effective dose is 3.2 grams to 6.4 grams. I saw that the core pump product has 3.2 grams. Is there any benefit for taking more, like closer to the upper range? And should people who weigh more consume more closer to the upper range? I don't know.
All right, so I'm gonna go with my latest Dr. Campbell answer, which is probably a bit outdated and would be based completely on the research only. With a caveat, I'll say this before. If Core uses research to like validate what they're using. And one of the things I love about Core is they do use what we would say is clinical dosing. So if they say that 3.1, 3.2 grams is the clinical dose, that's why that is the dosing that they put in there. But some of their products, they will put in more than that. So they're very big about that, and they're very straightforward. You see exactly what you're getting in a serving on each of it. So those are things that's why I'm associated with them. That's why I like Core. Now, beta alanine, at least from what I can tell you, and I remember Dr. Campbell talking about in classes, it's kind of half and half. Like, so it may be really beneficial. Yeah, it may not. But I mean, guess what? Do you like it? Do you feel better with it? Do you enjoy it? Great. Cool beans. I don't like how beta alanine makes me feel. I don't like the
Yeah, I hate
ears
it.
and stuff.
Yeah.
It ain't for me.
Yeah.
And I don't notice any difference in my workouts if I do or don't use beta alanine. So for me, no, I'm not going to use beta alanine. But if it works for you, or you feel like it works for you, or you enjoy that feeling, cool. Like, and that's like the weird thing to say. It could be yes, it could be no.
Yeah.
But thanks for the crappy answer, Stephen. You're welcome.
I think there's something to be said with like the placebo effect too. Like everybody is like, when it's the placebo effect. Okay, but like if it's working for you, then why would you not do it? Right? Like that's exactly what you're saying, Stephen. And I mean, in the case of beta alanine, I immediately think of the itchies and then I immediately go, why would you want more of that? Because I hate it. So I'm just going to put it out there that like more isn't always better, right? Like just if you're hitting the minimum effective dose, like why do we need more?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, hey, well, water's really good for you. Let's fucking drink all of the water. It's like, okay, well then
Then it's bad for you.
then it's bad for you. So
Right.
I feel like I love the detail of this person's question, but I feel like it's a little bit too detailed. Like it's just like, hey, if you like it, cool. Scoop it, have a double scoop. I think 2 scoops is actually a serving size because I only take
Poop it
one.
and poop it, right?
Like if you get the itchies and it's there and it feels good and you like it, great. Like good. There's a lot of other things I feel like sometimes that we could be focusing on.
There's
That's what
definitely
I
other
said.
supplements first.
I'm like a supplement minimalist with stuff. And for me, usually pump products are not going to be ones that like add super positively to my day. And so they're not ones I'm going to go after. Other things like Core Blaze, I love. And I think it's Burn. I really, and I'm not like one to use a lot of that stuff. And I had tried them like a couple of months ago when I finally stopped breastfeeding and I was like, oh, these are amazing. And like, so if I like something, I'll bring it up with clients, but I always tell people like, don't go crazy with stuff and don't start more than one thing at a time. Cause then you can't figure out like if you do get the itchies or you don't like the response to something, if you start more than one product at a time, it get hard to narrow it down.
So, and that there are like, some supplements are very well proven. Creatine monohydrate, extremely well proven through and through, tons of research, multiple benefits, right? Ashwagandha has some really cool research and benefits. Citrulline malate. So citrulline is really cool because it used to be that they were doing arginine and then they realized that citrulline converts to arginine in the bloodstream anyways. So it does the same job, but it like actually absorbs and converts better. Like, sure, there's some other stuff. But I mean, like beta alanine is like, for me, it's kind of far down the list. I'm also a minimalist. So if I'm like looking at supplements, normally it's caffeine, creatine. If I want pump product stuff, sure, maybe some of those other things. If you don't care and you're really trying to go for the stimulants, like there are some other options out there, like the DMHA and those other kind of crazy things. But like you also have to be aware that too much stimulant's also a bad thing. Yeah, too much stimmy, bad.
Word. Cool. Well, I feel like on that note, you guys got anything you want to add to close us out?
Use our
Pickle juice.
core, use the code ProPhysique to have a discount on core products.
No,
the
bro
code might
grand,
work.
dog. Bro grand.
No, best. Fuck off.
No, all of you. It's Castle. Or use, I think it's the code.
Oh, shit.
The one that is
Whatever.
attached to our to the whatchamacallit, the podcast. Ugh, words. All right, guys. Well, I used all my words up on our podcast today. So we'll talk to you next week. Bye.